Hello my friends, I hope you've been all well. Autumn is nearly over here in the UK and I do realize I might be a bit late with this demo as most people have probably started thinking about the festive season, but I find it hard to move on. Autumn is my favorite time of the year. So I thought I'd record this short video for anyone who feels the same and wants to enjoy a little bit more of this beautiful season. Every autumn I try to spend as much time outdoors as possible, soaking up these last rays of sunlight and enjoying the vibrant autumn colours. This year I visited Wakehurst, the sister garden of Kew Gardens, a stunning arboretum filled with trees from around the world. For today's painting I'll use gouache and coloured pencils to create a loose interpretation of this beautiful scene. I captured it on my phone during my visit. Gouache paints have such a natural vibrancy and I'm hoping they will help me bring this autumnal landscape to life. I'm using Winsor Newton Designer Gouache, but you can use any good quality gouache you have on hand. I think the biggest challenge in capturing autumnal scenes is finding the right balance between saturated and muted colours, so the final piece feels harmonious rather than garish. In this video, I'll take you through my step-by-step approach to achieving this balance. I began with loose sketch to map out the main elements of the composition. I deliberately framed the scene to guide the viewer's eye along the curve of the river, leading to a small bridge, the waterfall beyond, and finally this fiery red Japanese acer tree. When I look at this image, I notice very distinct layers, the foreground, middle ground and a background. With this in mind, I started dividing my frame on paper into these main sections to structure the painting. Once the sketch was finished, I added a few primary colors to my trusty old plate, which I use as my painting palette. I'll list all the colors I used in a description below, but all you really need is some cool and warm versions of the primary colors and a little bit of white. I like to start with most vibrant saturated colors before the paints get mixed up and become slightly muddy. To paint this beautiful red Japanese acer tree, I mix warm red and a little bit of lemon yellow. I used the same color on some of the trees in the background and added few strands of reeds in the foreground to create a balance. Next I move on to yellows and oranges, making sure to distribute these colors evenly as well throughout the composition. For the trees in the background, I mixed the lemon yellow and a little bit of ultramarine blue. It created this very beautiful, vibrant light green. Once the gouache dried slightly, I noticed that the red in the acer tree is very bold. To tone it down, I mixed the red with yellow ochre, which muted it very nicely. I painted a tiny sliver of visible sky using ultramarine blue with white gouache. Then I moved on to darker greens, mixing warmer yellow with ultramarine blue. Adding a little white to this mix cooled the hue slightly and introduced some variation. You may notice that throughout the painting I alternated between vibrant, warm hues and the cooler, more muted tones to maintain the balance. To add contrast and definition to the darkest part of the scene, I mix red with yellow ochre and ultramarine blue. For the moss on the stones along the riverbank, I used lemon yellow and ultramarine blue again to achieve this vibrant green. And as always, I added touches of this color to other part of the painting for harmony. For the algae on the surface of the water, I mix green with a little bit of white. The water itself was painted using a mix of ultramarine blue and red. To add the highlights, I used white gouache straight from a tube with just a little bit of dirty water that was still on my paintbrush. White gouache with any pigment added to it tends to dry darker than it looks when it's wet, so it's a good idea to keep this in mind while working with it, and adding the pigment to the white rather than the other way around. On the other hand, the dark hues often dry lighter, and that was the case in this painting. I realized that I was lacking contrast and that the water looked a little too light compared to the reference photo. To fix this, I mixed a more intense shade using ultramarine blue and warm red. This made a big difference. At this point, my camera started flashing a low battery warning, so I decided it was time to finish. I removed the masking tape to reveal the clean edges, and this process is always so satisfying. If you watched any of my recent YouTube videos, you know that I love adding final details and texture to my gouache paintings with colored pencils. For this piece, I used a mix of Polychromos and few Inktense colors, which work beautiful over the traditional gouache. I loosely scribbled some leafy textures, added fine strands of reeds, defined a few edges, and included a subtle reflections in the water for those finishing touches. I hope this demo inspired you to capture your own favorite autumnal scene, whether in gouache, color pencils, or any medium you love. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your own autumnal inspired artwork or any questions you might have. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit notification bell so you won't miss any of the future videos. If you are completely new to gouache and want to learn more about this versatile medium, be sure to check out my earlier video, Learn how to use gouache tutorial for beginners. I'll link it below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!